For this English project, we were asked to find 10 artifacts that would help us understand and explain and find a deeper meaning for a specific theme. Many of us chose to have that theme relate to our CBSL projects. I too chose to do this. My CBSL project is Early Birds Tutorial, and my theme is motivation. During this video, I will share what I found about motivation and how that answers the questions of what is motivation, how does it work, and where can we see it. The answer to the question of what is motivation was something I found last year when I was researching my project. And when I researched it, I found that there are two forms of motivation. The first being extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation is the most common form of motivation and is seen almost everywhere. In jobs, it's typically an extrinsic form of motivation because you do a task to get a paycheck and you're motivated by the paycheck. In a lot of athletics, people are motivated to get better at basketball or get better at football or soccer or tennis or lacrosse or whatever sport you play because they want more playing time, or they're motivated, like maybe their coach wants them to get better, so they want to get better, so their coach likes them more, their friends like them more, they think they're cooler. The other form of motivation is intrinsic motivation, which is also seen a great deal in sports and is seen a great deal in highly successful people. Typically, the most successful people are those who are intrinsically motivated because they have this internal drive to get better. They're not motivated by the money per se. They're motivated to do better at their job because they want to do better. They have a desire to create something better. They have a desire to do better at their sport. They have a desire to understand their subject that they're studying in school. Intrinsic motivation is when they're internally motivated. The motivation comes from themselves. So the first artifact that I found that had good examples of motivation was the movie Rudy. The movie Rudy is the true story of Daniel Rudy Ruettiger. And what this based in a nutshell, the story is Rudy is a guy and he really wants to play football at Notre Dame. So to play at Notre Dame, he works really hard and goes there and goes to practice and tries to make the team, tries to make the team. In the end, he eventually makes the team, and in one of their last games, he plays just a couple possessions, but to him that means the world because he achieved it. Looking at the motivation, Rudy was intrinsically motivated. He wasn't trying to go play football because he thought he could be the next best thing. He was trying and be the next best thing and get money and get fame. He wanted to play football because he wanted to play football. He wanted to go out there every day, work, and get beaten up because he wanted to be able to say that he made the team. He wanted to have that sense of pride that comes from intrinsic motivation. The movie, on the other hand, because it is inspirational film. It was named one of the it received an award for being one of the top 100 motivational films of all time. So that the movie itself is extrinsic. It can be a form of extrinsic motivation to people. It can provide the motivation necessary to have a person who would never have gone out for football or never would have gone out for basketball or baseball or lacrosse to go out and try. And maybe they can even find that they like it and have enjoyment in it. The next artifact that I came across was also a movie, and I chose two movies to look at. And this is the movie A Beautiful Mind. A Beautiful Mind is a movie that was based off of based off of the true story of John Nash. John Nash was a mathematician who studied the forces that govern chance and probability, which is incredibly complex. And also, John Nash was a paranoid schizophrenic, meaning that he had auditory hallucinations, he heard things that weren't there, and he had paranoid delusions, which means he saw things. So he saw and heard things that didn't exist and only he could see them. The reason this is motivating is because even though he had these massive disabilities, he was still able to succeed and do good at his job and was able to do tremendous work in the field of mathematics. So his whether he was motivated, he had to have some form of motivation, because if you have such great disability like that, most people just give up. So he provides extrinsic motivation for us, because he shows that if you persist, you can continue. Just like Rudy, if you persist, you can achieve almost anything. One of the other places I found motivation was when we had to go find a podcast or a TED Talk or something of that nature and listen to that. I found a TED Talk by a man by the name of Daniel Pink, and he was a lawyer who became more interested in motivation and started to research that and how it works in an economy. The basic philosophy that almost every economist understands is the greater the reward, the faster and the better everything happens. If you have a person and they have to design a table that is incredibly strong and looks really good, aesthetically pleasing, and they have to design like a dining room table. If you pay the greater the reward for their design, in theory, the greater the design will be, and the faster it will come. And so Daniel Pink's basic theory is the exact opposite, that the greater the reward, the worse the design will be, and the longer it will take to come to a less design. The main idea that he looked at was this problem. Like, there was a group of people and scientists, and they did a study, and the study was they had a problem that's called the candle problem. In the candle problem, they took a group of people and told one group of people, here's a candle, a tray of tacks, and a match, and all that's set out on a table, and they're tasked with the job to mount the candle to the wall and not have any of the wax drippings drip on the ground. So for the first group, they told them, you're going to be the baseline group, and just do it as fast as you can, and whatever time it comes out, doesn't really matter. We're just trying to find averages. When that group did it, it took them, say, roughly 5 minutes. It was the average time to figure out what to do. The second group, they said, whoever's the fastest among this group will get $100. And then if you're in the top 25% in times, then you get $50. In this group, the average time increased dramatically. It went from what would be, say, roughly 5 minutes to 6 or 7 minutes to come up with a solution. The solution, which is simply take the tacks, tack the tray that the tacks are in, because it's a box of tacks, tack the tray to the wall, and then set the candle in the tray. Which, it's the reason that having them be extrinsically motivated, the second group offered the reward, it slowed them down because they were trying to do something that was innovative, that was thinking outside the box. The group that didn't really have any extrinsic motivation, they were almost intrinsically motivated, saying, hey, I just want to figure out how this thing works. And they came to the conclusion a lot faster than the other people did. They tried to melt the candle, stick it to the wall, and stick a better tacks underneath it, but that didn't really work. And they tried all sorts of things until they just kind of figured out through the intrinsic motivation of how to get to their final destination. And then so we kind of know what motivation is. We kind of know a little bit how it works. It works basically, if extrinsic motivation, then they have a goal that they want to reach because they're going to get a reward. Intrinsic motivation, they have a goal they want to reach because they want to reach that goal. And then we've also seen where we can see it. We can see it in films, we can see it in jobs, we can see it in athletics, we can see it everywhere. So what I find from this is what motivation is. It's a driving force. It is the force that's behind people, that drives them to achieve more. Also, motivation is, in essence, it defines us. It gives us who we are. Some people look at other people and say, oh, well, this person's this way because they're of this nature. What really the best way to look at someone is kind of like, what is their motivation? If they're incredibly motivated, then you know they're going to be successful at whatever they try to do. And so, all in all, I find motivation is the driving force behind everything, and it relates to everything. Everything is related to motivation, and if intrinsic motivation is by obvious choice, the more preferred one. So what I asked was answered. If you can, try to be intrinsically motivated over extrinsically motivated.